Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new spoiler review here on Max Talks Movies. My name is Max Dinenberg. Today, we're talking, sadly for me, about episode 7 of the Disney Plus Star Wars show, The Acolyte. So if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. I talk all things movies, TV, box office, and I also do movie franchise rankings and out-of-theater reactions that I post literally once I get out of the theater. So please subscribe, ring the bell. We're so close to 230 subscribers. Let's get there as quickly as possible. Comment down below. What are your thoughts on The Acolyte? What are your bold predictions for the finale next week? Let me know in the comments section. Also, please like the video, guys. The thumbs up button helps the YouTube algorithm out. So please hit that thumbs up down below. So I am a couple days late to reviewing The Acolyte. One was due to really the only reason why it was for scheduling. I was seeing a movie on Thursday and Friday. And I also filmed my box office show on Wednesday instead of Tuesday this week. So I don't want to put you guys with too much content on a daily basis. I want to do at least 1 to 2 videos. And if it's 2 videos, it has to be an out-of-theater reaction and review. So I waited until today to do the review, but more likely Wednesday I'll be back doing a review of the season finale of The Acolyte. So if you're new to the channel, I have done breakdowns of each episode. Now, when I do these breakdowns, I give my general thoughts. I don't break down scene for scene what happened. I just give my general thoughts on the episode. And if this is your first time watching this my channel, thank you so much. So the first 2 episodes I was actually a fan of. I didn't hate it. I didn't love it, but I was definitely intrigued by the concept of the show. Episode 3 was not good. Episode 4 I thought was really bad. I thought and then I think that's kind of killed for me that the story just has never been there for the show. There was a setup that I enjoyed with the first 2 episodes, but we never felt like it progressed in any good direction. And this is, for me, maybe the worst episode of Star Wars television live action. I really did not like this episode. I think if it's not the worst of the television live action shows, it's definitely the worst episode of the season. And this was supposed to be the big reveal episode because episode 6 felt like a waste of time because everyone was talking a lot in last week's episode, but couldn't say anything because we have a whole episode revealing what happened on Brendok 16 years prior to the present time. And I will say this, Soul was an interesting character, at least in the first 6 episodes. They've absolutely killed this character in this episode, and they've killed a lot of the characters in the show. What I mean by that is this felt like a convoluted mess of an episode where characters are making rash decisions so quickly that affect the lives of not themselves, the people around them. And my biggest problem with the show early was I just did not like the portrayal of the Jedi in this show. I'm cool. Obviously, I'm interested in the fact that, of course, not all Jedi are these perfect, good people who want to save everyone. I get there's flaws in the Jedi. Obviously, there would be cracks in the Jedi in order for Vader and Palpatine to take over. But it just didn't feel like we were getting interesting Jedi. You know, Soul feels very much kind of like Qui-Gon, but now it's like not even close to Qui-Gon. So this episode is basically showing us what happened in episode 3, but from the perspective of Soul and the 4 Jedi that go on this mission. As I said, this was a bad, convoluted episode. And my problem is with the actual Jedi and what they did. Their goal here was they found a planet that should have been inhabitable. They were there for like 6 weeks, they said, and they were trying to figure out on Jedi business why this place is somehow inhabitable with all these plants are growing. And you know, Soul brings up that you have the Virgins, and maybe that's why it could create life here and things like that. You have Torben, who is he complains the whole episode that he just wants to go back to Coruscant. That is his character in this episode, which is, I just want to go to Coruscant. why are we still here? No, we're gonna go to Coruscant. He felt like a 5-year-old kid in this episode, and they never explained why in episode 2 he willingly drinks the poison to kill himself in the second episode because of the events of this episode. And the whole time I was like, so why would first of all, at the time I was like, this is really interesting. A Jedi thought he did such a bad thing that he would do that was shocking in episode 2. And in this episode, he just wanted to go back to Coruscant. Yes, Mother Anastasia, got in his head, but nothing like me. I mean, he took the blood of people. I mean, I don't understand. This is so frustrating. I'm going to go character for character. They also waste Trinity in the show. Obviously, I'm saying Carrie-Anne Moss as Master Endara. She's a really stupid Padawan. And first of all, sorry, I'm just going to make it a whole thing about the Jedi now before I move on to the twins and that whole thing. And Solo, I'm going to finish up on as well. Is that the Jedi make such quick, rash, emotional decisions on too quickly. If any character in this show stopped and thought for 1 second what was going on, we wouldn't have a show. But because characters have to do this and this and this, and Soul is so frustrating in this episode. Sorry if you're gonna get my raw thoughts, and that's what this YouTube channel is. And I appreciate you guys always supporting me. Is the fact that Soul, his drive in this episode is he wants a Padawan. Even though they have a whole Jedi Temple of Younglings, and for some reason he still doesn't have a Padawan, he is driven once he sees the twins that Osha, the good one, has to be his Padawan. That's the only reason why he, first of all, is following around the girls, infiltrating their camp enough where he climbs up this mountain to do so. He kills Mother Anastasia over this. Even though it made no sense. She turned into like this ghost poof thing, and somehow he could still slice through her. Didn't make any sense. But Soul kills her, and then on purpose, he definitely could have held up May and Osha. I feel like it would have been easier to hold up May and Osha than the two bridges. But instead, he's contemplating between the two bridges, and he basically thought he killed a kid to save this person, to force her, basically to manipulate her and to trick her into being a Padawan. I thought this was a gross episode for Soul. Gross from a character perspective. Because his mind is just, I'm going to go get a Padawan. I need a Padawan. She's the Padawan. She's the Padawan. That's every scene with Endara. She's like, you can't make this decision for her, but I'm destined to be her master and stuff like that. It's just like, then he's killing people over it. Her own mother. It just felt disgusting to me. And I don't care about this character anymore. There's no going back from this episode. Like, Soul interacting with May, past episodes now make no sense based on the events of this episode. Yes, May starts the fire, but the Jedi don't have defensive skills. They just attack. They make the whole show about how the Jedi never attack. And then in this episode, Soul just straight up kills Anastasia. We have Endara, who's trying to break the witch's spell on Kalnaka, and by her getting the spell away from Kalnaka, I guess she killed all of the witches. Like, nothing makes sense, and it's just happening at the snap of a finger like that. The runtime and the length of the show really struggled because they want to tell so many different stories, which is the twins, their side of it, the Jedi, witches, and you also have the Sith with Chimera in the show. And Chimera, thankfully, is nowhere near this episode because he's the only thing going that's somewhat interesting in the show. And he's very interesting while the rest of the show is stuck in this. It's interesting because you have Jodie Turner-Smith, an excellent actress. We've seen Ling Jong-jae really good before. Obviously, Carrie-Anne Moss is an action legend. She's stuck doing whatever she's doing in the show. This was really frustrating. And the show lost all of the agency. They made the adults take all of the responsibility of the kids, where they take all the agency away from the kids. Soul wants her to be a Jedi. Even when NSA is like, we're going to let Osha be a Jedi, and the whole people like, really? You're just going to let her go off and be a Jedi? We need her here to co-lead us. They never explain the mark. They never explain what it means if May and Osha would take over the Coven. This was some really bad acting in this episode. Really bad dialogue, the worst dialogue, which doesn't help the actors, but also the actors are delivering it pretty poorly as well. Where I laughed out loud like 4 or 5 times in the episode. And I didn't like doing that, because even if something's bad, it was not laughing out loud in like a fun way, where I was like, this is kind of fun bad. This was like bad. And there was some delivery. There was Anastasia, hint, hint, because of your positivity or whatever, the Jedi this is what's going to kill the Jedi off, hinting at Order 66. Like, are we like, why? Like, why? Bernessa's not in this episode, obviously. Would she have known about what happened? Man, this was a really rough episode. It didn't help the twins. May and Osha are now so uninteresting in the show because nothing has been their choice in life. They have the Coven who's ruled over them, and the Jedi and the Sith and the Coven all manipulated the twins. Obviously, they manipulated them to becoming people, but Soul has ruined Osha and May's life. Who knows if the Coven would have done that, but Soul really did that, because they said now that Soul like let Osha go, if I'm not mistaken, from the Jedi Order. So Soul went through all of this trouble of killing her mother, infiltrating the Coven, trying to kill her sister to get her to save Osha, just to let her go from the Order and then not to speak to her again. Like, this is bad writing. The characters are disinteresting. We have Kalnaka, who takes himself away from the Jedi because he got infiltrated by witches, and you have Torben, who's like, I want to go to Coruscant the whole episode, and that's why he wants to drink poison in episode 2. This is rough. Characters make such emotional, rash, too quick decisions, and that's the only reason why this episode happens, and the length of the show hurts it. And I was about to say, I watch a lot of TV. And I watch a lot of great TV that's 30 minutes an episode. You can get a lot into 30 minutes, but you have to be concise and choose 1 or 2 plot lines in the 30 minutes instead of 4 or 5 different plot lines. This show had too many ideas, too many plot lines, too many subplots for the length. It needed more time, especially this episode, which is the big reveal episode. And it only got around like 40 minutes, and that's with credits, so it's probably like 35, 33 minutes. It just wasn't enough time, and it makes this episode feel really rushed. I'm all for 30-minute television. I don't like that people, because of shows like this, think that 30-minute television can't be done. You have shows like Baby Reindeer and Barry and Abbott Elementary, and shows that are top-tier level shows that pack a lot into 30 minutes. And this show has really struggled because they have so many different ideas going on. So this was a bad episode. It ruined a lot of characters. The show has now made absolutely no sense. I already didn't care what was going on, but now I really don't care, because Soul is someone I'll never root for now. They really axed him in this episode. There was no Qui-Gon like in this episode where he's killing people for a Padawan. It made no sense. And yes, so thankfully, for my sake, we have 1 more episode. And I hate doing this because if you've been following the channel, Star Wars is my favorite IP franchise of my life. I'm addicted to Star Wars. I watch the movies all the time. Whenever on TV, I watch them. I watch them on my own all the time. I've rewatched Clone Wars and Rebels 3 or 4 times. This stuff does mean a lot to me. That's why I'm trying to get all this off my chest, because I'm not here crapping on the show for different reasons. This is a bad show that just is not good. And it's sad that this is the state of Star Wars right now, where we're getting a lot of these type of shows that trailer and the concept and what they pitch to the audience sounds interesting. They give us something kind of different and something that we never wanted. So 1 episode left. Hopefully Kymir survives so we can see him maybe in something else out of the show. But I'll be back wrapping things up on Wednesday here on the channel for the Acolyte. Stay tuned for more reviews coming to the channel.